Welcome on the AM News. Let's go to Parliament for our first story. And the Speaker, Alban Bagbin, has slammed U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris for her comments on Ghana's anti-gay bill. In a joint press conference Monday, the U.S. Vice President, who's on a state visit to the country, expressed concerns about that specific bill. Speaking at a meeting with some religious leaders, the Speaker said no one could dictate to this country. He also criticized President Akakpo, insisting he couldn't control Parliament on this bill.
I was so happy when I read that Pope Francis directed that no Reverend Father should celebrate over a gay or lesbian marriage. And I said, Roma locuta complete, causa finita. Yes, Rome has spoken, and the matter is ended. So please, committee members that will refer the bill to, we want the report. Don't be intimidated by any person. Hallelujah. I made this statement when I was a member of the European Parliament, European ACP Parliament in Brussels. Now we have two of our members who happen to be leading our committee, Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, who are handling the bill. And since we referred it to them up to date, we have not heard anything. I've reminded him many times on the floor of the House. What are the challenges you are meeting? Report to us. If you take action against them, say, oh, because I'm MPP. That's why he's taking action against me. I'm NDC. Because he's taking action against me. Because he's not in my party. That kind of division, that is not the purpose of politics. Politics is meant to unite us. Diversity is natural. There's nothing you can do about it. That is creation. And that is the spice of life. How come we are using that to divide ourselves? Please, let the report flow. We need to legislate. Our friends just passed their law in Uganda. We may not go the way they have gone because our constitution is very clear as to the direction we should move. And so we'll be guided by that. Because if we pass any law against the constitution, it's unconstitutional. So we have to do that. And so what are you afraid of? If you have the whole people behind you, if God is with you, who can be against you? And if God says, please, go into the wilderness, multiply and fill the world. That is God giving you that command. If somebody says, please, don't multiply, how can that person be strong? I don't only speak this way in Ghana. Even at the last meeting we attended in IPU at Bahrain, anybody who listened to my speech, there were sentences on this matter. Luckily, maybe because it's a Muslim country, they applauded me. If they're somewhere else, they will be asking questions. As the Vice President just did yesterday.
Well, the American Vice President, meanwhile, says the atrocities that were meted out to her ancestors during the period of the slave era cannot be glossed over and easily forgotten. Speaking after going through the door of no return in Cape Coast Castle, she indicated that the scars of the slave trade period must push humanity to fight for the rights of one another and, more importantly, support one another. My colleague Richard Kwejonyako traveled with her and came through with this report.
A charged atmosphere it was. The rich Ghanaian culture was displayed here at the Mintimazi Palace, the seat of the Omahini of the Ogwa traditional area of Sabre Makwesiata II.
Reciprocal visit to concretize what we are talking about so that Cape Coast will also be strong. There is a plan to build a slavery museum, and we want you to be part of that museum. This will tell the whole story of the African transatlantic slavery.
The Omahini of the Ogwa traditional area craves for a reciprocal visit to cement the relationship that has been nurtured between the people of Cape Coast and the U.S. entourage. The U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris responded to the Omahini of the Ogwa traditional area.
I do appreciate the points that you have made, and there is an unmistakable tie and bond, and all relationships that are good relationships are founded on trust and consistency and reciprocity. And so I appreciate the points you have made, and we will follow up with your request. How could I deny a request from my host? I've been raised properly, you know. But it is my honor, and with my husband and our delegation, to be here. And I appreciate the accommodations and the effort that you have made to welcome us so warmly.
The regional minister seized the moment to seek support for women and children.
Our flagship program, Free High School Education, since its inception, has opened up access to children in disadvantaged or needy homes across the country. Coupled with a commitment to strengthening and promoting educational interest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, we believe support through the proposed investment in Africa will strengthen us to prepare our children for today and tomorrow's highly technological environments.
In our next story, maternal mortality remains one of the challenges facing health service delivery in the Ashanti region. The region recorded 181 maternal deaths in 2022, representing 22% of the 875 mortalities recorded nationwide in the year. The period under review saw maternal mortality rates increase marginally from 132 to 134 per 100,000 live births. There's more in this report.
Health authorities in the Ashanti region are happy at the gains made in the prevalence of anemia in pregnant women, which they say has improved from 33% in 2021 to 29.6% in 2022. Measles, rubella immunization and proportion of deliveries attended by trained health workers also saw an improvement over the period. The same, however, cannot be said of maternal mortality rate, which saw a marginal increase from 132 to 134 per 100,000 live births. The region recorded 181 maternal deaths in 2022. Ashanti Regional Health Director Dr. Emmanuel Kojotenkran at a 2022 review conference said eclampsia and postpartum hemorrhage accounted for the maternal deaths.
The theme for this year's performance review is addressing the challenges of non-communicable diseases through awareness creation and capacity building. The region purposely selected this theme due to increased mortality and morbidity and loss of productivity associated with non-communicable diseases, especially cancers, diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular diseases, and chronic kidney diseases. During the year under review, the region saw improvement in some key indicators, whilst other indicators reduced. Family planning acceptance rate reduced slightly from 28.1 in 2021 to 27.4 in 2022. The proportion of supervised delivery improved from 60.7 in 2021 to 65% in 2022. The prevalence of anemia in pregnancy also improved from 33.3% in 2020, dropped to 29.6% in 2022. Maternal mortality still remains a major challenge in the region. During the year under review, our maternal mortality rate increased marginally from 132 per 100,000 live births to 134 per 100,000 live births. The total number of maternal deaths recorded in the region was 181. The major cause of maternal death remained eclampsia and postpartum hemorrhage, whilst the percentage of maternal death audited was 100%.
Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kuma Abuaje, is unhappy with the maternal death figures in the Ashanti region. He wants health authorities to work at reducing maternal mortality in order to reduce the national burden.
Staying on health, the Upper West Regional Director of Health, Dr. Damien Pungwiri, says the refusal by nurses and other critical staff to accept postings to rural areas has affected the fair distribution of health workers in that region. He notes that despite the service rolling out incentives to attract them to those areas, the majority refuse these postings, negatively impacting health delivery in that region. There is more in the story.
The three-day 2022 Annual Health Sector Performance Review meeting of the Upper West region affords stakeholders the opportunity to take stock of what transpired during the year under review, exchange ideas, document lessons learned, and chart the way forward in the realization of improved health outcomes in the region. Upper West Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Damien Pungwiri, laid bare plethora of programs embarked on during the year under review.
With support from partners, we conducted 15 rounds of COVID-19 vaccination in all districts in a drive to achieve optimum population immunity. The region successfully responded to 2 new public health emergencies, that is yellow fever outbreak in Wa East and Sisala West districts, and monkeypox virus outbreak in the Wa municipality. As a region known for seasonal meningitis outbreak, we continued with capacity building of staff on meningitis surveillance and also strengthened supportive supervision at all levels.
Dr. Damien Pungwiri noted that fair distribution of nurses and other critical health staff continues to be a challenge as they refuse postings to rural areas despite the service putting incentive systems to motivate staff working in deprived areas.
In the year under review, a total of 508 staff of various categories working in deprived areas were promoted to their next grade ahead of their counterparts in non-deprived areas. And a total of 334 staff serving in deprived areas have been given provisional study leave to pursue further training in the next academic year. I encourage all staff to accept posting to all parts of the region where their services are needed.
There is, however, good news for the region as the number of doctors increased from 58 to 93, thereby drastically reducing the doctor-patient ratio.
All districts in the region now have at least 1 doctor, and 9 out of the 11 districts have at least 2 doctors, meaning that when one is not available, the other can cover for the person. The doctor-to-population ratio has thus reduced from 1 to 12,000 persons in 2021 to 1 to 9,897 in 2022. I would like to use this opportunity to commend the Director General of Ghana Health Service for allowing the region to use its quota to acquire clearance for doctors willing to work in the region, but who were not without clearance. So during the year, some doctors were posted to us after giving clearance, but they decided to not show up. So we contacted Director General, and he allowed us to use the quota to engage those who were their juniors They have completed and were sitting at home waiting to be employed. So we advertised and they came in, and this brought in a good number of doctors to the region. If this policy is allowed to continue, Mr. Chairman, the region could achieve its requirement for medical doctors in the next few years.
From health, let's talk education. And the North Adai District Assembly has handed over a 6-unit classroom block to the Akakpo Senior High School. This is part of the Assembly's initiative to improve infrastructure in second-cycle schools to accommodate the skyrocketing number of free SHS students. There's more in this report by Fred Kwame Asari.
The Akakpo Senior High School, established in 1962, is faced with a myriad of challenges. Prominent among them is the lack of classroom to accommodate the over 1,600 student population. However, the North Dine District Assembly partly solved the accommodation challenge by providing the school with a 6-unit classroom block. The Akakpo Senior High School headmaster, Prosper Yao Vijuru, appreciated the gesture.
Today we are witnessing the most beautiful and modern edifice in the school, a 6-unit classroom, also donated by the District Assembly, led by the District Chief Executive, Mr. or Honorable Kujo Ata. As we witness this today, I would also like to remind us about the tremendous challenges we face as a school. They include toilet facility for both boys and girls. Water is also a problem. When there's no water, as if we are on midterms. Woeful inadequate masters and mistresses bungalows, inadequate teaching and learning materials, e.g. modern library, computers for ICT practicals, and other practical-oriented subjects like the visual art and home economics.
The North Dine District Chief Executive, Kujo Ata, said the Assembly would consider dealing with the challenges of the school.
Today, it is about education. And for education to thrive, it has development in many folds. Academic excellence, social moral discipline, and of course, infrastructural development. You agree with me, Tabwe Chairman, Mr. Headmaster, that at the onset of these free SHS, the numbers keep skyrocketing every year, every year, every year. And so there is a need for us to make sure that we put up infrastructure projects so that we can show up or we will be able to accommodate the increasing numbers.
Now, in our final story, the Chief Executive Officer of the Petroleum Commission, Egbert Fable Jr., has assured of the Commission's readiness to support indigenous companies offshore to provide technical support to the oil and gas industry. He was speaking at the inspection and handing over of a locally manufactured oil and gas equipment, P6 manifold, made by an indigenous Ghanaian company.
Oil and gas industry has depended mostly on imports for its equipment. The production of the P6 manifold by an indigenous Ghanaian company, Awesome Oil and Gas Limited, is therefore great news for the oil industry. At the inspection and handing over of the equipment to Talu, Ghana, the Chief Executive Officer of Petroleum Commission, Egbert Fable Jr., commended Awesome for their swift intervention. He added that this has helped Ghana to cut down cost of importation of the equipment.
So as I was saying, it means a lot for Ghana. If these multi-million-dollar, fabrications had been done outside Ghana, the costs would have gone high and would have been passed on to Ghana. Here we are, we have had them fabricated here, so the cost has reduced. That increases government take. Also, in addition, you see about 300 plus people have worked on it, and about 280 of them are Ghanaians. It shows that the localization agenda, the local content agenda is on course, and we cannot but applaud it and ask that, like we want to see more, and the Commission will ensure that a lot more of such initiatives are done in Ghana. It, for me, and the Commission shows that gender mainstreaming is actually important, and we must be deliberate about it. And so that's why we want to speak to these ladies, for them to tell their story, so that particularly the young ones in junior high school, senior high school, and even presently in university can see that there are pathways, you know, to the oil and gas industry, not just for the desk related ones alone, but also the mechanical, you know, heavy aspects of it, which have all been viewed as traditionally areas reserved for men. And these women ought to be celebrated, I should say.
The Deputy Managing Director of Awesome, Kofi Nyame Mensah, was happy about his company's intervention in the oil and gas industry.
The testament of this project is being able to show that this work can be done in Ghana. That's the most important thing. Whether it's suction piles, whether it's jumpers, goosenecks, manifolds, splitter manifolds, the whole subsea infrastructure, we are able to do it. And this is a living testimony.
In a later development, a courting inspector at Awesome, Olivia Adodanso, encouraged females to be bold in venturing into male-dominated fields.
Honestly speaking, being in the male-dominated field can be a little challenging sometimes, but I think that it takes a lot of energy and a zeal to be able to thrive in such an industry dominated by male, because sometimes they are going to look down on you as a female to be able to do the job and all that, but gladly we are proving them wrong. So it's not easy, but we are sailing through. The girls out there, they shouldn't feel intimidated. They shouldn't let the men make them feel that they are not enough. You are enough, and then you just need a mindset to be able to do it.
In Athalia Kwanzaa, Joy News, Western Region.
That's how we cap off the news. Stay with us. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante joins us shortly as we get into the papers.